All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to Geopolitical Trends, where truth matters. Excited to be with you on this February 24th. So, I have an interesting, not interesting, is the development as to what just took place in Germany. So, I am going to be talking about the elections, but it's not as far as the percentages who win and the parties and all that. That's all that. It's nothing but a window dressing. We're going to get into the hearts of the matter from two angles. One is economic, the other one is political. And on the political side, there are two fronts. One is domestic and one is foreign. And the big question that revolves around all this is, will Germany now take stand on its own feet until the US, you know what? We don't want to be under the shackles of under your shackles per se anymore. I have my doubts, but that's what I'm going to be sharing with you in this analysis that I'm going to be providing you today. Before I do this, I have some housekeeping stuff I need you to be aware of. Join me and Carl Za on February 28th, the last day of the month, at 1900 hours for our monthly conversation. That's what we're going to be talking, me and Carl. I got to silence this. We will be addressing a host of developments that's going on. Like always, you guys know, Carl and I, we do all this, but there is one particular aspect we're going to be addressing, and I'm going to intend to detail that. Second thing is my community conversation with you all on March 1st. I couldn't do it on Friday, since usually I do it at the last day of the month or last weekend of the month, but it just falls on Saturday, which will be March 1st. So that's when I'm going to be doing the community conversations. And the third thing is there is a possibility that I might have Professor Anna Malandog on March 2nd. Nothing certain yet. I'll get a confirmation within the next 48 hours and let you know, guys. And we go from there. So, all right, let's see our wonderful community. Everybody's here. I'm going to have to move on today, so I'm not going to give some shout outs to all of you. However, I do remember one of avid supporter of the channel, Amanda, put a comment on my account on X. So thank you very much, Amanda. Truly, truly appreciate you for that. So let's ask the key questions, and I'm going to share them with you right here, guys, regarding Germany. So is Germany now embarking on a new path? Because remember, these elections, this is now that Friedrich Merz is going to be nominated chancellor or whatever, but that's all nice and good. It's, will Germany now embark on a different path after what they experienced for the last 3 or 4 years? Second question is, will we see an independent Germany? You know, ask anybody who understands global affairs and understand international relations. He will tell you that Germany might not be as sovereign as you might think. Yes, sovereign on the papers. So what? When you have over 30,000 troops, foreign troops on your soil, that's usually not a good picture. No different than South Korea and Japan and even Iraq, Australia to a degree, Philippines. Third question is, will the EU member, in other words, will some countries in the European Union, depending on their upcoming elections, follow suit? In other words, they will have parties from either center right or far right, whatever that might be, different from what it is today. And the last question is, will the new chancellor be a pro-US or anti-Russia? Those are legitimate questions that we ought to ask, as now many confirmed that the Olaf Scholz is done for. As a matter of fact, the incompetent Olaf Scholz just conceded the election. So let me first share. I have some pictures I'll share with you. This picture, I give credit to Michael Kapler. That's his picture. This is the new, this is Friedrich Merz. He's the one who won the elections. And I'm going to share some brief stats as I move forward into all this. So now the German conservative opposition leader, that's Friedrich Merz, the one you guys saw right here. sort of won the elections, won a lackluster victory now in the national elections that took place yesterday. So, on the other hand, the alternative for Germany, the AfD, nearly doubled its support, which is a major event, because when you consider that party, the AfD, has not been on the political scene since World War II. All of a sudden now got the second place with about 20% of the vote, which means when you look at a map, and I have a map here, I'm going to share it with you. I'll give credit to Al Jazeera for that. When you look at this blue size here, guys, the eastern part of Germany, all of it, that was under AfD. Now it's moving west. So my understanding is, give it just few cycles, and you probably have the AfD one day. The representative might become the chancellor of Germany. Very, very interesting dynamic. So, because as I said, AfD now doubled its support, which is the strongest showing for a far-right party since World War II. Very, very interesting aspects of this. So, before I move forward, guys, please, if this is your first time landing on this channel here, I will greatly appreciate if you can subscribe to the channel, because one thing I am very proud of is that the content you are hearing and the analysis you are hearing on this platform here is unique to this channel. So if you are enjoying these free episodes, I will greatly appreciate if you could subscribe and share the channel with other people from around the world, so they, like you, have the opportunity to hear the truth. So, and here is the link. I'm going to put the link in the chat box for you guys, to those who are new here, and welcome to our community. So, all right, let's get into our analysis now. Now, let me give you a brief bio about who Friedrich Merz is. So, of course, you have to go. I'm not going to detail much. I'll provide you the link and all that. But you have to go back to 2004. That's when he became a senior counsel with the Meyer Brown. Now, you need to understand one thing about Friedrich Merz. He is a lawyer by training. The same way the incompetent, and yes, I use the term, even though he is educated, but he is incompetent. Olaf Scholz is a lawyer also by training. So both of them, Friedrich Merz and Olaf Scholz, are lawyers by training. So, and of course, for Friedrich Merz, this is the one we're talking about, his focus, he was doing a corporate law. That's where one that focuses on mergers, acquisitions, banking, and finance, and so forth. So he had his hand involved in many aspects, specifically one. And that one is when he sits on the board of BlackRock Germany. So we're going to get into this. So Friedrich Merz is also a licensed pilot. So just to give you a heads up. But I have a link for you, that very interesting one I came across by Thomas Vazzi. So I'm going to put it in a chat box for you. Really, he wrote an interesting piece about Friedrich Merz, and I put it for you guys in the chat box there, so you'll see it. So here is what Thomas wrote, and I quote, let's not forget, has long represented the interest. Merz, let's not forget, has long represented the interests of some of the world's most powerful corporate and financial elites, most notably as a key representative of BlackRock in Germany between 2016 and 2020. Indeed, if Merz is elected, Germany will become the first country to be ruled by a former BlackRock official. But his ties to the elite institutions go back much further. For over 2 decades, even before joining BlackRock, he embodied the revolving doors between politics, business, and finance. Spot on, because we need to put this in mind, guys, for us to understand now what lies ahead. And this is where my analysis is going to come in. if I am to be asked to give him an advice for one day, this is what I'm going to be telling him, and I'm going to be sharing it with you. So now let me take you back to one word that J.D. Vance, the U.S. Vice President, mentioned during the Munich conference, security conference. And that word was, you know what it is? Firewall. A very, very interesting keyword, because you need to understand its meaning there. So now basically the firewall is still holding to a degree, because now you have this union of the German Christian Democrat and the Christian Social Union, the CDU and CSU. So because now it's as clear as it can get as far as putting Friedrich Merz in line to be the next chancellor. That's done for. The surprise to all this was that the hard fall of Olaf Scholz's party. But again, look what they have done to Germans. Ask any German citizen, and he will tell you, he or she will tell you so. The other surprise to this was the hard right alternative for Germany, or AfD, which, by the way, posted a second place with 20% of the votes. But here is the shocking thing about all this, is that Merz already disclosed that he is not going to be working or including AfD in the government. What does that tell you? So, unless, of course, there are some major concessions that will be made. And if I am to guess, as a geopolitical analyst, if I am to think about this dynamics, is one thing that Merz is going to ask AfD, if they want to be part of a government, is for them to drop the lines of, let's get out of NATO. Let's not pursue the US foreign policy here in Europe. This is, I think, the concession or the condition that Merz is going to put on AfD. AfD, on the other hand, will be caught between a rock and a hard place, whether to compromise on its principles or not. Because here is one thing that I've learned in life, and this has nothing to do with politics. Once you start compromising on your principle, you will end up with nothing. In other words, you will stand for nothing. That is where I gotta raise this desk a little bit here. There we go. That is where the issue is, guys. And it will be interesting to see what the dynamics is going to be, whether AfD will give those concessions or not. So now you need to understand why the outcome of these elections, and I'm going to move quickly into my own analysis, is that this election shows the results which come again against the backdrop of two main things. One is the stagnant economy, okay, in Germany. And two is the security concerns as to how the German society is like, there are some individuals who stated, those are German well-known celebrities. When I say celebrities, meaning well-known individuals, this is not in the movie stuff, whatever, stating that Germany has become a violent society. You also what happened in Munich the week during the Munich security conference. And this is where it's going to be the challenge for Germany, for the new chancellor. Because the far right, the AfD, as I said, doubled its vote share and surged into second place. Even Scholz himself was shocked to find that out. He's upset. Well, who gives a damn about what Olaf Scholz feels or think? Who cares about that after sinking Germany into a deep hole? So another interesting aspect had to do, as a matter of fact, I'm going to play a clip for you guys just to put things in perspective, because I always like to do this one for you. All right, take a listen with me here, and please give me a thumbs up if you can hear clearly.
Olaf Scholz has conceded defeat after the opposition leader, Friedrich Merz, declared victory in the national election. The outgoing chancellor has also criticized a historic result for the far right. The Alternative for Germany is on track for the strongest showing for a far-right party on a national level since the Second World War. Well, Merz's Conservative, CDU, is expected to win about 28.5% of the vote. The far-right AfD likely to get around 19.5%. Chancellor Olaf Scholz's centre-left Social Democrats is expected to take third place. That is its worst post-war results. Let's go to Dominic Kane, who's live for us outside the Bundestag in Berlin. But first to Step Vassen, who's also in Berlin at the CDU headquarters of Friedrich Merz. And so, Step, early results, tell us more about those and also the mood in the celebratory Merz camp.
Well, Friedrich Merz didn't wait very long to declare victory at the stage here behind me just a few minutes ago. And he immediately also took up his role as the new chancellor, the successor, very likely, of Olaf Scholz, who conceded defeat. And Merz immediately also had a message to Europe, to Germany, but also to the world. He said that it's now time that Germany will have a solid government again. We have to show that we're present in Europe, and also the world will not wait for us. We need to hurry up, build a coalition quickly, and make sure that Germany is back on track. All these very tough words from the man that actually has no experience in government. He is a lawyer. He's been in politics for many years, but also has been in business. And now he's been selected, basically elected, as the new chancellor. He was a competitor for Angela Merkel for many years, and basically has been sidelined by the former chancellor. That's when he went out of politics. Merz is known to be much more conservative than the former chancellor Angela Merkel was. He has also a very tough stance against immigration, and he has basically been working together recently with the far-right Alternative for Germany party to make sure that very strict anti-migration policies were adopted in Parliament, but they failed. But he was heavily criticized for working together with the far right. And now it's going to be interesting to see, because the far right leader from the Alternative for Germany party immediately responded also for their big win. They have doubled the vote, and Alice Weidel spoke to the public, but also spoke directly to Friedrich Merz, saying we want to work together. And there is, of course, this firewall, we call it here in Germany. All the parties have said they don't want to govern with the AfD, but the AfD made a very clear gesture saying the country won't change, the policies won't change without the AfD. So this is now the political landscape after this election here in Germany.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Let me stop this one here. Yeah. Very interesting wording of what they are saying. Both parties, the CDU, the one that just won, and the AfD, and nothing will change. Like what the head of the what's her name is, Alice Withers. I have a picture of her here, and this is Alice Withers, and I give credit to Getty Images. That's the picture here. She already said that nothing will change if they are not including her party. And why is this important? It's because her party is calling for the fundamental changes within the structure of Germany's policy, domestically and globally. And this is where it's going to be dynamic. What I found very interesting about all this one also is this incompetent, the foreign policy representative of the EU. This is Kaja. It's beyond incompetent. Usually I don't degrade anybody because that's not right. But when she's saying about we need to carve out Russia, that's when you realize how ill-informed and to the border of stupidity, if I may say this. Well, here is what she said. Kaja Kallas, what she said. She said, and I quote, the German people have made a choice, and now they need to put together the government. I hope that they do it as soon as possible, because we really need to move on with the decisions also on the European level that require German participation. End of quote. No. You know what she's aiming at. First of all, the formation of a coalition, just to give you guys a heads up, this is going to take weeks. This is not going to be resolved tomorrow. There is negotiations back and forth and so forth. And that now Friedrich Merz already mentioned that he's not going to include the AfD in the government, well, how can you ignore them with 20% vote? So which means, politically speaking, Germany will always be unstable. Why is this important for us, the Americans? It's because if there is fragmentation, we will be, the idea of divide and conquer. If we can maintain that division within the German government, we will be able to influence policies. This is why Kaja was saying, oh, they need to hurry up and form the government. No, because AfD, one of the requirements was we need to stop funding Ukraine. That's one. And second one, do we need to be in NATO to begin with? Because here's the thing, Germany now is going to have to increase its defense budget to about $90 billion. You move from 40 or 50 to $90 billion because that's what Trump told them to. So, and this is again where you fall back to the question, is really Germany a sovereign state? You'll be the judge of that. So you'll be the judge of that. So now, of course, as I mentioned, Olaf Scholz accepted the defeat. He announced whatever. But all this comes out of discontented nation. Germany is pissed, the German citizens, because that's the unpopularity of Olaf Scholz that dragged the country, Germany in that case, into really an economic deep hole after following American foreign policy. Because it was the US that dictates the terms to Germany. Now, the question to you guys, will this new guy be any different? I don't have my high hopes, but that's me. Given his background, and I know enough where to dig and where I digged to know about the guy ties to BlackRock. And if you know what BlackRock does, then you get the idea. Even for our government, do you think it's our government that makes policies? No, it's those very, very influential entities, the likes of BlackRock, that indicate. So what makes us believe that the guy, Frederick, who is not a politician, first of all, yeah, I wish him well. I wish he does well for the German citizens. But will he be changing the fundamental issues? And that is where I have my doubts, because I just don't see. But again, let's give him a benefit of that. He just won the elections. We will see how he moves forward, because he is arguing, meaning Merz, he is arguing and acknowledging the difficult tasks ahead for him. So, no, because forming that government ain't gonna be easy. And if he thinks he's gonna just no, it's gonna be a long and hard-fought battle to form that government, if ever. And that is why the doubt will always be now on Germany's political aspects of it. So now the question becomes, if I am asked, and this is just a hypothetical, as a matter of fact, I do provide advice to entities outside, even governments, if the opportunity presents itself as an outsider, because I don't work for you as government, I don't represent Washington, and I'm done with that. So, but if I am to be asked to advise the counselor for one day, and that's all I need, because they will give me an idea whether he's willing to listen or not. I do the same thing, guys, for my presentations. And when an entity asks me to do a presentation for them, and I put it up front before we move an inch, I say, do not expect me to tell you what you want to hear. Is this what you want? Because if it is, then I am not your guy. straightforward in a business manner, because just because you are paying me for my presentation, that doesn't mean I have to compromise on my principles. The same arguments I will make with this guy. But again, this is just hypothetical. I am not going to be advising this guy anyway. So now I will advise him on two things. One is on the economic front and the other on the political. Let's start with the economic front. Why is this important? It's because you all know where the German economy is, how battered it has been. And the main two things within the economic front I will advise him is, you need to reach out to China. You need to make a trip to Beijing, sit down with the Chinese government and negotiate a deal that will work for you, for your economy, for your population, for the prosperity, for the infrastructure, for the capital ventures, and so forth. Why? It's because now China has a deep pockets. China is in a position to do that. That would be the first thing I would advise him for. It's because if you want to elevate now the German economy, at least bring it back to prior to 2022, or even before that, during the era of Angela Merkel, then that is one of the options you have. There is no other way around. Now, you can go to the Americans, but you know what comes with it, the strings attached. With the Chinese, they're going to be talking to you business, straightforward. Here is what we can do. Here is what we need in return. And that's how we're going to move forward should you decide on that aspect. That's on the economic front. And why am I saying this? Is because if this new chancellor, Friedrich Merz, if he is smart enough, he will see already what China is investing in Europe. And even China's buying some of the failed German companies like Volkswagen. Or he needs to look at, I will tell him, take a look at the profits that dropped for the last 2 or 3 years for your top manufacturer like Mercedes, like BMW, and especially in the Chinese market. So, second thing within the economic aspect, I will say, if you are a sovereign, then you're going to have to hop on a plane and make a request, schedule an appointment with the Russians and meet and figure out how to renegotiate all this deal, these sanctions and all this nonsense stuff. It's because if you want to improve your economy, you're going to have access to energy. The question with that is, does Germany have independence to be able to do this without the approval of the United States? Sadly, the answer is no. I mean, you look at just the policies of the recent one of them has to do with this guy here that now sort of killed Nord Stream 2. And you all know what happened with Nord Stream 2. That is one of because energy is going to be the key to Germany. So that's from the economic aspects. From the political aspect, you're going to have to approach it from two aspects also. One is domestic and the other one is foreign. Let's start with the domestic one briefly here. On the domestic front, you're going to have to work together with the opposition parties. This is what the firewall that J.D. Vance was mentioning during the Munich Security Conference. And even the head of the AfD party, Alice Weidel, mentioned about the firewall. That's going to have to be taken down if they are to work together, because domestically the policies, AfD is also pushing for anti-immigration. And I'm not saying immigration is bad. All I'm saying is that for Germany, they need to know who they are allowing in their country. Unlike my country here, I mean, with the millions and millions of illegal immigrants, that's the key word. You look at U-turn cities like New York, like San Francisco now becoming, just like a hotel for these illegal immigrants. Well, who's footing the bill for all this? Where those individuals are sleeping? They're sleeping at hotels because local governments are asking hotels to host those by giving them money from the USAID. Even that doesn't even go. It gets pocketed somewhere else. That's exactly what happened with Haiti. If you guys remember back in 2004, if I'm not mistaken, when a pledge was made to put in billions and billions of dollars for helping Haiti, that money never made it there. I think it was like only like some fraction of that. Where's the rest of the money? So I was in the same arguments about Germany. They're going to have to figure out this immigration thing because their society is also aging, and they're going to have to think into this. This is the domestic one. On the foreign policy aspect, they have two tracks that they need to deal with. One is the EU, and second is the United States. So let's address the EU first. This is, again, you go back to what Carlos said, that the Germans needs to hurry because of the decisions the EU needs to make. Why? Because Germany is a key player in the EU. And let's face it, guys, you know this truth. When you talk about the EU, who do you talk about? Which countries do you talk about? They're very, very minor. Germany, France, Italy to a degree. It used to be UK. UK is gone. But even the UK itself is now... UK is done for. It's so bad, and I'm not going to be talking about UK because if I am to do this, I'll do it on a separate live stream, and we will address the UK at some point. But the idea that Germany will have now to decide for its own, not what the EU wants, because where the decisions of the EU are made, does anybody know, guys? I'm going to ask you this question. Just type in the city if you know. Where are the decisions of the EU are made? Which city? Let me just see in the chat box here. Washington, D.C. Well, in Europe, let's start. Violet, let's start with that. Taiwan still, you got it. In Brussels. But again, Hang In-G, you got it in Brussels. But where was it? But Violet, you're right. Washington comes behind the scenes because Washington influences Brussels and dictate the terms. This is why you have two main institutions are in Brussels. One is NATO, the other one is the EU Parliament. So we have access to both. This is why we want this division to remain in Germany so we can influence the decisions of that. So Germany needs to figure this out with the EU first. Regarding the EU, European continent, that is the policies, immigration, whatever else. You all know what what's her name, the liar, Ursula von der Leyen did when during the COVID, the deals that she cut with the pharmaceutical and those never delivered to the country. She pocketed the money, and when the investigation asked for her emails, oh, sorry, we couldn't find them. So that just tells you the story right there. So Germany will have to deal with the EU by saying immigration policy is Germany's decision, not the EU. So this is why the EU is lashing out at Hungary, because Hungary decided to take stand and said to the EU, you are not going to force immigration on us. It's their country. They can decide whatever they want. That's on one end. On second end has to do with the United States. Now, which is the big elephant in a room. If you are to see a country that is hosting more than 30,000 troops, what are the optics of it? Doesn't take a genius to figure this out. I understand if there is some small entity presence, let's say, to protect the embassy, let's say, to help the military, the local military, training, whatever. But over 30,000? So that tells me personally that you are sovereign on a paper, but not officially per se, because we're still going to dictate the terms. So till Germany free itself from the shackles of the US dominance, and when I say Germany, I'm referring to Europe writ large, nothing is going to change. this leads me back to my original point. Are we going to see anything different with this new guy? I have my doubts. I have my doubts. It's because he will bow to pressure, given his background dealing with the acquisitions, the finance, the likes of sitting on board or serving on BlackRock. If you understand how influential those entities are, it will make more sense to you, because he will be given an ultimatums. But again, that's the price of becoming entering politics. What do you expect? This is the one thing for sure, is that the way I will gauge not only his sincerity, but his ability to lead Germany to what it was before, if he does two things. And like I mentioned, if I am to advise him for the day, one is to pivot east and go to China and sign a deal, economic ones, and get the economy moving and work out a deal with Russia regarding access to energy. And second is to request from the United States to reduce its military presence on German soil. I mean, you look at it, just I give you a quick example on the Middle East, in Iraq or West Asia, that is. Do you know we still have our troops there, even though the Iraqi government asked the Americans to leave? We didn't. Well, that tells me there is something wrong with the government there. So I would say the same about Germany. And that, to me, will be the hint that Germany now is going to be embarking on a different policy altogether after what they experienced, shutting down their economy and having people struggling. I always refer to Boone because I saw you, Boone, here. Oh, by the way, Boone, thank you so much for your super sticker, man. Appreciate you for that. Need to celebrate. No more 360-degree foreign minister. Thank you very much, Boone. Appreciate you. And again, it will make more sense if Friedrich Merz embark on these policies, as far as telling the Americans, you know what, we've been grateful for the Marshall Plan, we've been grateful after World War II, but it is time now for you to leave. But I have my doubts. Because of how deep involved this guy is with the elite entities that influence government decisions. So I wouldn't even be surprised that he might even be sitting on a board for the World Economic Forum. Why would I be surprised there? So I won't. And the question becomes, this is the German parliament, by the way. This is where now they're going to have to take the negotiations regarding the formation of a government. Hey, it's not going to be an easy task. And by the way, this happened before, back in German politics. So. Because here's the thing, if you think about now what's going to be lying ahead moving forward for Germany. So one of the things that I can see is in the defense budget, like I mentioned earlier. So since Germany falls under the US authority, yeah, I'll say it out loud, that Germans, they're gonna have now to jump their budget from roughly 50 billion euros to about 90, almost doubling that. All this is to meet NATO's specification or goal of spending at least 2% of their GDP. Well, how can you do that when your economy is tanking? Your energy bills is quadrupling. So, yeah. That means for Germany now is going to have to spend about 3.5% of its GDP on a defense. So, which means what? $150 billion defense budget. That is what it's going to be. So Now we're gonna have to look at. I need to look at one thing here for you guys because I need you to see the whole process of how it works in as to what lies ahead for Germany. It's gonna be a tougher road because remember the collapse of the German government started with the firing of the former minister. What's his name? Christian Linder, if I recall, if my memory serves me well. And when he fired him, because remember, he was a coalition government. When he fired him, 3 other members in the government from the same party left too. That's where the collapse started. And that's how it works. And I think, to me, it's very, very concerning that now the Frederick is saying, well, we're not going to let AfD be part of the government. Well, that's what the Germans want to vote for. Yeah, they got the second place. They didn't get the first one, but that doesn't mean it's just going to be a rough one. That's the only thing I can say moving forward. But to me personally, looking from outside in, as an outsider, as an observer, Germany will have 2 things to do. Economy first, and heading out to the east to China and kind of deal with the Chinese. And second, to kind of start to gain some independence from the EU or from especially American foreign policy. That's the only way I see it. Other than that, they're going to be in stagnant. They're going to be stagnant and the government will not be formed. That's the only way I see it. So I wish them good luck into achieving this. But, I am usually... I'm an optimistic guy, but I'm also a realist. When I say reality, how it is, if the signs that I see, it's not this is similar to, by the way, this is similar to the collapse that took place. This is Gerhard Schröder back then in 2004, if I'm not mistaken, or 2005, so one of those, when he had to work for the formation of a coalition, and it wasn't an easy sale, so it took a while, but that's why those negotiations, it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. So the bottom line is how, and I'm going to keep this short, guys, because I just want to give you an update on this one here. Where do we see Germany moving forward? Well, be on the lookout for negotiations for a few weeks, if ever. And with that comes the casting doubts about Germany's political stability. Because if there is one thing, and I'm sure you guys know, you've been around long enough to know, if there's one thing the economy does not tolerate, is uncertainty. So if there is political uncertainty, that's going to be a problem. This is why I'm saying, if I were to advise, go to China, because China's reputation regarding economy is solid. This is why I'm going to be having the conversation with Kaza about the idea of, is now the image of China, Xi Jinping, is changing. Why? It's because the world is seeing now the difference between the United States and China. So I ask you, who are you going to give credibility to, China or the United States? So I know I'm not insulting your intelligence, guys, but again, I'm just asking questions that matter, because you're going to have to think in these terms, and that's how the world sees it. So if Germany wants to move in the right direction, that will be one of the key things it needs to do. This way, the citizens will see that the government, the new government that they voted for, is really working towards the welfare of the citizens, the German citizens, not the EU, not the whatever, the German citizens. Because at the end of the day, it's the German citizens that end up paying the bills. And it's their right to afford whatever they need to pay for. So, and in my opinion, going to China, cutting a deal with the Chinese, will give you more credibility in moving forward, and you restart from scratch. But again, how can you do that if you are not independent politically? You guys see what I'm coming from? That is to me the challenge, and that other than that, they can be circling around, and nothing's going to change, because the EU is controlled from behind the scenes by Washington, no different than NATO. This is why, once again, I'm going to repeat this. I usually don't like to repeat myself. This is why AFD was pushing for the two main things: stop funding Ukraine and maybe get out of NATO. I don't see that happening. But again, even for our president here, Donald Trump, well, if he really does not want a war or whatever, why are we still funding NATO? Why don't you sign an executive order and withdraw the US from NATO altogether and let the Europeans fend for themselves? They can build their own security structure. And mark my word, if that happens, most of the Eastern European countries will not sign up to that, because they have no issue with the Russians. And if they do sign up, it's going to be under the control of the UK, which the UK is a servant of the US. So in whatever case, till that happens, I don't see anything else changing. Anyway, guys, I just wanted to share some updates with you regarding the elections in Germany, how this is going to now influence the trajectory of where Germany is going forward. So it's because we all know Germany has been, to those who say, well, Germany is considered a key ally of the US. Yeah, but I'm going to also add a vassal state. It's not an ally. Yeah, it's an ally on papers, but it's subservient to the US. So, but now you're going to have to think whether this relationship between the two, Germany and the US, is on an equal footing. Doesn't seem to be, in my opinion. So, because let's just say it straightforward, Germany is under the control of the US. There is no ifs and buts, and there is no other way of saying it. I'll say the same thing about Philippines. I'll say the same thing about South Korea, Australia, Japan, and also some other states in Europe, like Italy, like UK. Those, and now I add Sweden and Finland to the mix. Because Germany has been for a long time under the influence of the US foreign policy, because its decision makings are not made in Berlin, but it's made in Washington. The same arguments I make about Canberra in Australia. Decisions are not made there, they're made in Washington. Same in Seoul, same in Tokyo, same in Manila. It's a reality, and I'm like kind of just being straightforward about this one. If Germany wants to save itself, it is now or never. That now the Germans have spoken. And if this new guy, Friedrich Merz, is going to honor the will of the Germans, he shouldn't be starting his tenure with, oh, I am not going to let AFD be part of a government. No. What happened to that democratic process, so-called democratic process? So, yeah, this is where it becomes just an idea of just talks, no more, no less. So I hope he will reconsider his statements here and work for the welfare of the German people. That's all I can share. Anyway, guys, I hope you find this interesting, at least some updates to give you some pointers. Remember to join me on, like I said, on February 28th. Of course, I'm going to do a live stream before that, but just to remind those who might have not joined us at the beginning, February 28th, rather, at 1900 hours for my conversation with Carl Zell. So, anyway, guys, if you want to support the channel, this is to support my upcoming Asia trip. I will be heading out there should we reach the goal of the funding, which I will disclose to you by the end of the month, and just go from there. There are, I think, so far, I am having 4 locations in mind that I'm going to have to visit. Yeah, 3 or 4, someone like that. I haven't decided definitively yet, so we'll see. So if you want to support the channel, that is for the trip, rather Asia trip, that's the link, and I would greatly appreciate it. So as always, guys, remember, geopolitics impact your daily life in more ways than one. Till next time, bye-bye.